So we have created our 3D laptop with a first approach that I explained to you, creating basic shapes, shapes from the shape tool, and then duplicating them in 3D and scaling them to combine them and form this shape. Okay, we have not done it the same process for the screen itself, because what I want to show you is one more method and another approach to creating 3D objects in After Effects. Okay, but if you are going with this one, you can just copy paste this whole object and then rotate it like in this axis, rotate it in x-axis, and then that will become your screen. So you don't have to really model the screen once again, because it is kind of a tedious process. Okay, but the another method that I want to show you now of creating 3D objects in After Effects is actually a very simple one. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. So we'll create a new composition just like we did for this one, going to the new composition and putting in the same values that we did before. Okay, so once we are inside this comp, I'll just take the same background image, because we don't need to create it once again. So you can just Command C and Command V and your background will be there with the effect that you have created for it. Okay, like the gradient effect. And now let's go back to our composition, and basically we cannot take anything from here right now because we are going to use a totally different render. All right, so basically how this process differs from the first one is you actually work in a different render settings. Okay, renderer. So another thing that we will copy from our previous composition is the 3D UI design that we had created in Photoshop. So let's select all the layers, all the comp layers that we have from the 3D UI design, excluding this keyboard one, and we'll just Command C and Command V again, and you'll notice that this is 3D, but right now let's not keep it 3D, let's make it 2D. Because we'll need to make the basic laptop first in reference to this 3D UI design. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a shape just like we did before. Go to the toolbar and select the shape tool, and you can zoom in and of course also fit this to your screen. All right, and then we'll drag out the shape, which will it is just to take a reference of how the design is and make a shape in reference to that. Okay, let's rename this as a base. I'm renaming this as base because I'll just show you in a minute. So now we can go ahead and create this shape as 3D, and of course, like before, if you want to really move object in 3D and see the objects in 3D, you have to create a camera first. So right click and create a camera again. Okay, and once our camera is set, now I'll be able to rotate the shape in 3D. All right, so this is where the process will differ from the previous one. What we'll do is we'll go to the renderer setting here, and if you'll see classic 3D selected first, but now we'll go ahead and change it to ray trace 3D. Okay, and there are many options here, like the quality and anti-aliasing filter, but let's not change anything right now. We'll keep the quality for S3 itself, and just press OK. It will be a little bit heavier on your system. That's a major disadvantage of working with this fashion, but I'll show you what is the basic advantage of working in this fashion. All right, so let's go to our custom view like we did before, and here we will be able to work with our 3D object. In this renderer, it is very easy to create 3D shapes compared to the previous one. Now we don't have to duplicate all the sides and manage them and place them with each other, combine them with each other to create a 3D shape. If you select the object, any object in this renderer, okay, and click on this little arrow to drag it down, drop down the menu and go to geometry options. So this option is new in this renderer. It was not there in our previous comp. All right, so once you go inside geometry options, you will get bevel depth, whole bevel depth, and extrusion depth. Okay, right now extrusion depth is 0, but only if you increase this a little bit and let it render it, you will see that your object is ready. I mean, this is very simple. It's just you have to extrude the object like you do in softwares like 3D Max or Maya, the 3D softwares that we use. It is really easy to do that in this renderer. All right, granted that it is a bit processor intensive, but this is really fast as in a workflow manner. Okay, and that's it. You don't have to do much here. You just have to adjust the extrusion depth as you like, and your 3D object is ready. So once that is done, let's create a light as well, like we did before. We'll go so that we see the depth on the 3D object. So we'll go here and create a light, and we'll keep it as spotlight. Okay, once the light is created, we will again reposition this. You can add in more lights if you want, like basic, if you are familiar with 3-point lighting and you want to beautify your scene a little bit more, you can obviously go ahead, of course, and do that. But for the sake of this course, we'll just create one light. And again, we'll also go ahead and create an ambient light as well. So right click, new, light, and we'll select an ambient light. Let us reduce the intensity of the light. And also let's change the color of the shape here. We don't want it to be white. We want it to be like kind of a space gray. And now let's go back to our active camera and see how does this look. Let's change the view a little bit, and you'll see that our base is ready. I'll not change the camera, and I'll just click on all of these layers and make them 3D as well. And once we have our basic model, basic shape ready here, what we'll do is we'll just duplicate that by pressing Command D here, and now I'll shift the anchor point to the bottom, and then we'll rotate this. Press R on your keyboard to bring up the rotation values, and rotate this to create a laptop base. So we'll put in the value of 90 degrees, and then we'll go back to our main first screen here. Let's rename that as screen now. You might notice the fans of our system are going crazy because as I mentioned earlier, that this is a really processor intensive renderer, and it will if you have a slower system, you should probably use this method. That's where the real advantage as well as disadvantage is. But if you use this ray trace 3D, you will get many more light option, refractions, and everything, which I will show you in a minute. You can also go to this preview settings and make it to half, or even third if you would like it. If your system is really slow, then this is just for preview purposes. It will render in full resolution when you're rendering the final output, so that will not matter. So once you go to the screen, what I want to do is to reduce the width, because screen will not be as thick as the base. So let's go to the geometry options, and I'll thin it down by reducing the extrusion depth here. Let's make it 8, and I think that looks pretty good. Okay, now the screen is merging with our 3D UI design layers. So let's select all of these layers and slightly bring them forward. Also, you'll have to bring out all these elements from it itself, because it is being merged all into itself. So the principal difference between our previous process and this one, the ray trace 3D, is that this creates actual 3D shapes, and we get more options with our 3D objects. Like I showed you in a shape here. If you go to base once again and drop it down, you'll get the content as it was before, then the transform properties, of course, and the basic main property that you get is these geometry options. You can also use bevel depth to smoothen the sides and as well everything. Please go ahead and explore all of these properties as well. And after that, you get all of these material properties also. Okay, so just like before, you can turn on the cast shadow options, and here what you'll get is more options with the specular intensity, shininess, and reflection intensity. In the previous version, we didn't have reflection and reflection. Okay, so we'll experiment with that on our UI design in a moment. And also we have the transparency, roll off, and everything, and index of refraction. Now refraction is also a very interesting property to have. So you should adjust the lighting and everything of your scene once again. And I feel that the spotlight is a little bit dim here, so I'll increase the intensity. And again, if your system is getting too slow and the scene is too heavy, the main option you need to change is like go to ray trace 3D option, and let's go to the options menu here, and the quality here is set to 3. Now you can take it back to 1, and if you press OK, your scene will be much faster. You'll be able to work much faster in your scene, but the only drawback is you'll not get the fall off and additional shadow options and refraction options. You will have those options, but they will not be visible to you. But you can work them around and then again go and increase the quality, then see those options rendered. Now let's go ahead and explore some properties which is additionally given in this ray traced renderer. So for example, if I pull out this curved line chart UI out of the screen, we will be able to see the shadow and all the other properties being affected. Right now the shadows are not on, so let's go to our light here, spotlight. We don't need to work with the ambient light. Let's leave it as it is, and we'll go back to our spotlight lights option, and we'll just turn on the cast shadows option here, and you'll immediately notice that the shadows are falling on the screen. And of course we need it to be less darker, so let's make it about 40%. And of course we'll have shadow diffusion, so that will smooth out the edges. But this diffusion, like I said, if you change the quality of the renderer here to 1, this diffusion will not be visible, and the refractions and all the other options will not be visible right away. But don't worry, they are there. Once you change the quality back to 3 and you let it render, you'll see the diffusion as it was. And of course, let's go back again to the object itself, which is this curved line chart, and inside that I'll go back to material properties, and we have the cast shadows on. Here what will can also adjust is specular intensity, how much the object will shine. Like you will see here that the specularity of that object is affected separately, and then the reflection intensity, like if you increase that, any objects around it will reflect on it. Okay, and the reflection sharpness as well. Also what you have is index of refraction. So if I increase the transparency of the object, and if that object is a see-through object, you'll see that the refraction is not really visible. I'll just zoom in a little bit. Okay, and I'll turn this to full resolution here. But if I now increase the index of refraction, you will see the reflection behind, like it is like an effect with the water. The objects which we see through that particular object, the transparent object, are seen a little bit deflected or distorted. Okay, so that is the real life physical property that this renderer gives us. And sometimes it is really interesting. We are not going to make our UIs too transparent here, but we'll keep a little bit of refraction, let's say 0.5, or maybe we'll go ahead and increase that just a little bit, something like this, 1.01. And also will not keep it that transparent, so let's make this about 20%. And also will increase the reflection intensity, and will increase the shininess as well. So basically these are all the options that you do not get in this method here. If you go to any object, you will not get the geometry options as well as all of these reflection and refraction options here. So if your need is very specific, if your requirement is very specific, which will need to use all of these properties, I definitely recommend use this method of building your 3D objects. So now I'll go back to the options and make it to quality to level 3 once again, because I want to see the diffusion of the shadows. So here we are, our shadow is properly diffused, and this is how I want it. Maybe we will increase the diffusion, but that's totally up to you how much you want to make it diffused and how much darkness you want with the shadows. So type in the values that you are comfortable with and your scene will be ready. The only thing remaining now is to put the keyboard on here, just like we did before. So I'll just go ahead quickly and do that. So here you'll notice that I have attached the keyboard just like we did before, and I've also created another shape and attached the trackpad to it. This is just a shape I created with the shape tool. It's just a rectangle, and it is just adding values to your model. So basically we have our scene ready here in Ray Trace 3D, and I've shown you the properties, the extra properties that you get. So we'll go back here and increase the quality once again. So if you're working with your model, just keep it reduced to 1, and if you want to see the final output, then you go ahead and increase the value so that you see all the effects that you have created. Okay, we have a slight very slight refraction and very slight transparency to our object here, and we'll do the same with all of these UI, and we'll start on animating all of them as well. So for this method we have explored how it is different from the previous one. It is very easy to create a model. You just need to extrude the basic shapes and they convert into 3D, whereas before we had to actually build all of the sides. But with all of this power, there's a little bit of disadvantage that it is too processor intensive and it is very heavy. So if you have a mediocre system and you still want to get it done, I recommend using the previous method. But if you want additional options and an easy way to just extrude and create 3D, it's much faster work wise, so you should use Ray Trace 3D options in After Effects. Okay, so both of these plugins, both of these renderers are included in After Effects, so you don't have to install anything additional. So our scene is now ready here as well, and we will go ahead adding a null control and parenting everything to it, and then start on the animation part of the same.